Greetings again from windy southern Idaho. The wind is always blowing here, or at least it feels like it. And we like to say that Idaho blows because Utah sucks. But no offense to my Utah family and friends down there. But anyways, I didn't get this video posted yesterday. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, so I want to give a shout out to him because I know he does watch these videos. And so appreciate you, Dad, and all you taught me and everything that you do for me. He is a true handyman, jack of all trades. He can do it all and has taught me a lot over the years. And so thanks, Dad. Today I wanted to talk about the number one EDC tool, and that is the pocket knife. So for me, that's something that I've grown accustomed to carrying every day. And it is a tool that's handy. I wasn't always that way. I went through a phase where, hey, why do I need to carry a pocket knife? It's just another thing in my pocket, and just taking up space. And at the time, I was working and still am working in an office environment. And it's like, what do I really need a pocket knife for? I'm not in a warehouse. I'm not, out in the woods. Why do I need it? If I got to open a box, I can use a pair of keys. If I got to open a package, I can just use my fingers or a letter opener. Why do I need a knife? But I found a million plus one uses for carrying a knife, and it's always handy to have one around. People are always asking to borrow my knife because they know I have one. So it is useful to have a pocket knife and to carry one. So how do you know what knife you want to carry? I've not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago, I dumped my social media and I spent way too much time watching YouTube, and I discovered David C. Anderson in the Knife Center, and he does a really good job explaining different styles of knife, and I like how he includes budget knives in there as well as expensive knives, because I've been to stores, I don't own an expensive knife like Chris Reeve Sebenza, which is made here in Idaho, or Benchmade Osborne, or some of those other Benchmade knives, or even the out the front automatic knives. I don't carry one of those. Not that I don't want to, it's just I have a hard time spending that much money on a knife. If you're going to spend $300, $400, or $500 on a knife, I would be scared that I was going to lose it or break it. Like a knife I'll show you later in the video, I broke a tip off of doing a little bit of prying with it. So, carrying an expensive knife, to me, and maybe that's not true for everyone, but you just get incremental improvements there, and it's more of a status symbol. If you have a sturdy, sharp knife, regardless of how much it costs, it's going to get the job done for most everyday tasks. Now, there are situations where you may want to carry a nicer, heavier duty tactical or survival knife, maybe a hunting knife that's a little more purpose built. But for an everyday folding pocket knife, you don't need to spend a lot of money, in my opinion. So I'll show you some options I've acquired over the last year. So I kind of want to start at the beginning. So here I was, 16 years old, working at Walmart, one of my first real jobs, and I saw a knife in the display case that I had to have. I think it was only 17 or 18 bucks at the time, but I thought that was a lot of money to spend for a pocket knife. This was back in the 90s. So I bought a pocket knife, and it served me for a long time, but it was this Gerber knife, and it was actually pretty snappy. And at the time, a 16-year-old kid, I thought, man, that is a cool looking knife with the black blade and the serrated edge and the silver and black. To me, it was a very 90. Now I look at it and I'm like, geez, that's an old looking knife and not very stylish. But at the time, I thought I was the coolest thing for having this knife. And it has accompanied me on a lot of fishing trips. It is an older one. It says it's made in Taiwan. Which I don't know that they make Gerber knives there anymore. I think they're all made in either Europe or China. But anyways, it is it's pretty much everything I don't want in an EDC knife now. I don't want the serrated edge. This is probably a drop point, but it's almost a clip point there. I usually like drop points, but I don't like serrated edges on my EDC. Just because they're harder to maintain and keep clean, and it's just not a purpose that I need them for every day. It's a liner lock, which is fine, and it does have a decent pocket clip there, but it's not ambidextrous. You can't move it around. You're pretty much carrying it tip down. So that and the rubberized grips just look kind of cheap to me now. So I think if for a long time Gerber was my go-to. I had a Gerber early multi-tool that I really liked and carried a lot. And so when it came time to buy another knife, for a while I was kind of set on Gerbers, but haven't been as impressed lately. I bought this Paraframe knife for I think around 30 bucks. Originally intended to give it to one of my kids, but it was so stiff to open that I just thought they would struggle with it, and still have a hard time opening it, even though I've played with it a lot to try to get it to open smoother. Tried some oil and things, but just not. It is sturdy, and I like the look, this kind of copper bronzy look with the black, but it's just a spare now. The blade was not as tight, slicey as I wanted. It's pretty thick, and it was just hard. It's been hard to keep sharpened. I'm not even sure what the steel is on it, but it doesn't hold an edge very well. So I do not recommend that. If you're going to spend $30 on a knife, you've got better options than that. There's one Gerber that might be an option for you to EDC that's very inexpensive, and it's the Gerber EAB Light. It's small. It's just a razor blade. So you can pick these up. I got this for $12 on Amazon, but I've seen them as cheap as $10 at Walmart. So you can not have to worry about sharpening the blade, and you've just got this nice sharp little razor blade for opening boxes, cutting straps, whatever you need it to. It's got a nice fat clip that you could even use for a money clip and keep it in your pocket. But that's one I would recommend because for 10 or 12 bucks you can't go wrong. And it's the Gerber EAB Light. It's small, folds up into this little trapezoidal shape that you can put in your pocket, clip on, and you not have to worry too much about it because you can easily replace it and just change the blade when it gets dull. Now this next one is a Kershaw knife. It's the Epistle. I think I showed it in a previous video. It's got aluminum handles and just over 3-inch blade. Most of the knives you'll see, I do like about a 3-inch blade, so they're going to be in the 2.5 to 3 inches. This one was a steal of a deal. So Knife Center got a bunch of these, I think, on closeout for, and they were offering them for $17.99 when I bought this one. I saw the same knife at Sportsman's the other day for 30 bucks. So you can't go wrong for $17.99. I think they have up the price to $19.99. It's not a fast opener because it doesn't have ball bearings. It just has those polymer plastic washers in there. But it does open smoothly. I can open it with one hand. It doesn't fly open. You can't flick it open really. But it's got a liner lock also. It's got a nice pocket clip on it. It's small. It's not going to be too obtrusive. It's kind of gentlemanly. And it's a decent steal for the price. So it's... I know it says on here somewhere, 8CR13 MOV. So that's a decent steal for, it stays really sharp and I don't have to worry about it too much. So not everything I got is a drop point. That one Gerber I showed you was more of a spear point really, but that I did try to experiment around a little bit. You got to do that to know what you want to carry. But I picked up this Rivo Ness, and it is a very different blade style. It's a Nessmuck blade style, which is kind of unusual in a folder. So it's got this wide, thick, straight, flat grind, very slicey blade. It's about as big as I would want to carry for an EDC knife, but I do like this knife. You can get a good solid grip on it with that flipper tab. For as big as it is, it does come open very nice and very quick. It is, you don't have too much customization with the pocket clip, but it is a nice pocket clip, and the flipper tab makes it so it's somewhat ambidextrous there. I do like it. They come with a lot of different handle options and colors, so you're not limited there. I think I picked this one up for about $45, but they're in the $50 range if you buy them new. So that's an option. I like to take this one, especially when I'm camping, if I know I'm going to be doing cooking. It works great if you're around the campfire and you need to cut up some potatoes or tomatoes, onions, that kind of stuff. Because of the big slicey blade, you're able to do some food prep with it. And so it's an option possibly for everyday carry. This next one is another Kershaw. It's one I picked up fairly recently, and it's the Kershaw Heirs. This is an assisted opening. So it snaps open because it's got that spring. A lot of assisted opening knives are hard to close one-handed, but I'm able to do this one without too much trouble. It is a frame lock, and it is same as that other Kershaw, 8CR 13 MOV steel. So Big Five had these for regular price $49.99, but I got it for $29.99, which was a sale. And so I thought that was a great deal. These handles are pretty heavy duty. They feel like a similar material that one Gerber knife was made out of, maybe an aluminum or a stainless steel. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's a solid filling knife, and you can get a good solid grip on it and not have to worry about losing your grip. And the pocket clip is reversible, so you can do it right or left side. And it is just a handy knife to have. I think I saw these on Knife Center for about $35. So if you're gonna spend in that price range, this is a good option to get a good everyday carry knife. It's not gonna be too big, but it's gonna be big enough and strong enough to get the job done. Another option I really like, especially when I'm in the outdoors, is the Ontario Rat 1. So this knife I picked up a while back, and it is a big solid knife. These guys have a good reputation among bushcrafters. You know, a lot of those bushcrafters like those fixed blade knives. Not too keen on the folders, but this is solid enough that you feel like you could do some batoning with it, and it would certainly work for feather sticking or other bushcrafting tasks. It's made out of Aus 8 steel, which is a good stainless steel for the job. And these knives are really designed to be customized, because you can move that pocket clip from right to left, tip up, tip down, and these handles are designed to be customized, so you can change them out very easily, just removing some screws, and you can really make this knife your own. It doesn't flip open like a knife with a ball bearing, but it sure does flick open nice if I could do it right without being too close to this camera. You can just really swing that open. It is a nice big knife, probably 3.5 inches on the blade, and would highly recommend it. This is what I like to carry when it's also made in Taiwan. This is what I like to carry when I am outdoors and need an EDC knife, because I know it's going to be strong enough to get the job done. My regular, I'm almost to the end, but the one that I like carrying the most is small, fits in my pocket. It checks off about every box I like, is the CJRB Rhea. And I picked this up also off of Knife Center, and I just have loved this knife. It's very snappy. It's got it doesn't have a flipper tab, it has a thumb stud, but it just flies open with that ball bearing in there. And it's a classy looking knife. From that handle that's milled aluminum, that pocket clip that's milled aluminum, and I did go for a little bit more expensive option with the pack of wood handle, but you can get all different kinds of handle materials, which changes the price point some, but it's just about the right size. Just under 3 inches, 2.95, and it's very ergonomic. It fits in my hand nicely. It fits in my pocket. You hardly know it's there, and it's not big and scary and offensive like it might be when I'm in the office workplace. So I just really like carrying something like this. Again, it's probably in the $50 price range, maybe a little bit less if you get just the plastic handle and you get it on sale. But I really like this knife. The last knife I'll show you, and this is just for fun. Early last spring I was out doing some hiking with the family, rock climbing, and out in the sagebrush away from the rocks, I found a pocket knife and picked it up, and it was one that I hadn't seen before. It just had a really interesting design, and I wondered if it might be an expensive knife. And I got back home and looked it up, and found out it was kind of a cheap knockoff knife, a $10 knife that you can't get anymore, but it was made by Jolindo, which is just a $10 knockoff knife made by Jolindo, which you can't really get them anymore, but they kind of had a cool opening mechanism. Well, if you can do it right, it just opens with pushing that end piece there and closes the same way. So I thought it was a cool knife, but I unfortunately had a really thin tip, and I was kind of prying on a sprinkler head out in the yard that I shouldn't have, and snapped the tip off. And I haven't tried to reprofile it or anything, but interesting looking knife, and I carried it for a while just as something different and interesting to carry, but not an overly expensive knife. So just try different knives, find out what works good for you. But as for me, I can easily recommend these as budget-friendly EDC options for everyday carry that are going to get the job done. They're sturdy, they're reliable, they look nice, they work nice, they do the job, and you don't have to spend $500, and you don't have to cry if you lose it, because you can always afford to get another one. Got to finish on a high note with the joke of the day. And again, my jokes are not intended to be offensive. If you stick around long enough, you'll know that I make fun of just about everybody, and equal opportunity offender, I guess. So anyways, there's this gentleman, very wealthy guy, young, had a lot of money, had a good job, had a nice car, couldn't get a date for the world to save himself. So he just was getting frustrated because no one seemed to want to go out on a date with him, despite, all these good characteristics that he thought he had. So he finally decides to go see a specialist, and he talks to Dr. Chan, who is an expert in the subject. And so he says, Dr. Chan, he says, I don't know what's wrong. He says, I'm a young guy. I've got a nice car. I've got a good job, lots of money. I'm a nice, polite guy. He says, but I can't seem to get a date. I don't know what the problem is. No one wants to date me. And the doctor goes, let me see. He says, drop your pants. And the guy's like, what? What's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with me getting a date? And Dr. Chang says, drop your pants. And so the guy's like, okay. He's like, I don't know what this has to do with anything. So he drops his pants. And the doctor's like, okay. He says, now turn around, bend over, and look between your legs. And so the guy's like, are you serious? He's like, I've never had a doctor tell me this before. And he's like, yeah, turn around, bend over, look through your legs. So the guy turns around, he bends over and looks through his legs, and the doctor goes, you've got Zachary syndrome. And the guy's like, Zachary syndrome? He says, I've never heard of it. What is it? What can you tell me about it? He's like, your face looks Zachary like your butt. And there's your joke for the day. Have a great rest of the week.